No, I think we should be responsible to keep on our side.
Okay, we can start now.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here today with Puan Masita. She is the head of our foundation program, and we're talking about preparing students for success in higher education and employability. A little bit of background. Once upon a time, preparing students for employability was basically, in their last semester, giving them a career fair and maybe a talk about how to do a CV. But employment has changed. Okay, the market has changed. What firms are looking for has changed. Once upon a time, it was enough to just come out with a degree or a diploma. Now, that's just the first step. That's just a starting point. What employers are really looking for communication, creativity, critical thinking, resilience, initiative, how to be a self-starter, entrepreneurial skills. That's what employers are really looking for. And at MASA, preparing students for employment success starts when they enter into foundation. So, Ms. Masita, please.
Okay, hi Mr. Matthew. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this particular session. So, like mentioned, my name is Masita. I am the Director, Center for Pre-University Studies. Just a little bit of recap, whereby our Center for Pre-University is responsible for foundation students. We have two, which is foundation in science as well as foundation in business. So our role is to prepare the students before they go for the degree program. So when we are talking about preparation, this is not only talking in terms of lessons. It's not talking only about chemistry, physics, biology, business. It's not about that. It's more whereby from our curriculum, we integrate key modules that are able to prep the students before they finish their foundation and throughout the program of their degree. For example, we do have subjects whereby called as mental health as well as qualitative thinking, whereby these particular subjects are designed to make sure that the students are able to be in a group, do case studies, do any assignments, they're able to bring the soft skills of the students, because I do believe that having good grades is not everything, right? You might have a good grades, but you also require some soft skills in order to bring you different compared to others.
Okay, interesting. Well, another name for soft skills is life skills, isn't it? So we're not talking about knowledge, book knowledge, lectures, things like that. We're talking about skills, learning by doing, improving yourself and coming out with a better skill set. Okay, good. So it starts off with giving them the chance to improve their communication. What firms are really looking for these days is so many things, but really when it comes down to it is people that will do the job, that don't need to be constantly monitored, that don't need to be constantly helped. So they're looking for what we call problem finders and problem solvers. Okay, so you give them a task, they look at the task and say, is there going to be any problems coming, stopping me from doing this task? They find the problem, they solve the problem. If they really can't solve the problem, they ask for help. So they have a lot of self-knowledge, they have a lot of ability to actually work their way through things by themselves or in a team, but they take leadership and then they follow when they need to. How does MASA actually inculcate these skills into our pupils?
Good question. So basically what you mentioned just now, we are talking about independent of learning, okay? The students no need to be instructed of what to do. They know what to do, and then they know how to analyze and give a good insight of any observations or any data. So there's a few components in the modules we call as courseworks. Okay, these coursework components consist of several assessments. So when we ask the students to do the coursework, it can consist of practicals, it can consist of group projects, quizzes, tutorials, presentations. So this is how we integrate this self-learning and independent to the students, whereby a simple instruction only being given to the students need to do the rest on their own, guided somewhat by the lecturers as well as by the friends and tutors, okay? But not 100%, whereby the students will learn how to do self-independence and then they know where they should get the guidance and where they should do their own self-learning.
Okay, thank you. I talk to a lot of employers in my line of work, and one of the things that all employers come back to is communication skills. Okay, that it's important for students, well, for employees, it's important for fresh grads to be able to articulate. This is not so much about knowing how to speak English. People with very poor language can still be excellent communicators because they really want to get their point across. So communication is a skill separate from excellence in language, although the two are tied together. So what do we do here at MASA in order to really make sure that students can articulate, that they can think things through and then take the essence, the ideas that they're trying to get across and get them across where it's needed?
Okay, this is based on my experience, whereby we do have so many as points, and we do have so many students with a very good CGPA, 3.9, 4.0, but towards the end, the student itself not be able to speak in front of others. There's no confidence, there is no way to communicate with others. So how we help the students is there is so many open platforms are provided to the students, mainly thematic event, what we call as webinars or any open sharing sessions. Even we do have a subject, a module called Communicative English, whereby during this particular session, we teach them on how to groom themselves to be a very good speaker in front of others, how to have a very good resume, how to be presentable, and then how you're able to bring yourself better compared to others in front of other audience.
Excellent. In the modern workplace, you cannot overestimate the importance of communication. Now I want to switch and talk about something else that has really come up in the broader context over the last 2 to 3 years, but is also very important in the modern workplace, and that's resilience. Okay, there is an enduring myth that fresh grads, modern fresh grads, have no resilience. That, to use the term that you'll see on the internet, they're snowflakes. Okay, they'll cave very easily, they'll give up very easily. How do we inculcate resilience?
Okay, that one is a bit tough because basically this thing won't happen in a day. Okay, it requires several semesters. It requires so many what we call as reviews of module in order to make sure that the students are able to be persistent and do not give up if something happened to them. What I can see is this pandemic, it also brings, because some of the students, they feel really demotivated if the mode of exam change, so many sudden changes. So what we did is, we tried to incorporate all those elements inside the lessons as well. So there's so many what we call as assignments that have been given, whereby those particular assignments is related to make sure that they're able to cope with the change. Okay, so other than that, other than resilience, there is other component as well to make sure that the students are being one of the key, they're able to bring, they are able to be different compared to others.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think from my perspective, one of the things about resilience is, a lot of people think resilience is, not complaining and keeping a stiff upper lip and things like that. But really, resilience is part of emotional intelligence. Okay, and emotional intelligence has become very important over the last 10 to 15 years in the workplace, certainly. And it shows huge gains for firms that really have emotionally intelligent employees. So speak about emotional intelligence at MASA.
Okay, so now, in order to incorporate all those key components in the MASA students, we provided so many what we call as master classes, whereby these master classes will assist the students to have those key areas in order to make sure that they are what we call as well-learning compared to other.
Okay, good. Tell me a little bit more about these master classes. How do they work? What are the topics covered? So
basically, these master classes are being conducted during their degree program, not during foundations. So they finish their foundations. After they finish foundations, so basically they have several master classes that they can choose. So these master classes is important, whereby it's able to differentiate between you and another candidates. Okay, because frankly speaking, everyone are having the same syllabus of degree. Okay, student A, student B will have the same syllabus of degree. They will have the same certificate. But what makes it different is they're having extra, this is what they offered by the master classes. So they're having more skills compared to others. In their resume, they might having what we call as bachelor in chemistry, for example. But they're also having other skills that they did during their degree program. So this is the idea of our JMB, whereby these master classes are able to make the students stand more compared to others, because or else they will be just a graduate with that particular certificate.
Okay, thank you. I've got to admit, at one time, certainly when I was coming out of university many, many years ago, CGPA was king. Okay, as long as you were academically excellent, you were guaranteed a spot in whatever firm you wanted. But I'm not saying CGPA is not important, but if you look now at what a lot of firms are saying, they're saying it's just one important factor. It's not the most important factor. And indeed, more and more firms are looking at skills first. Okay, not what do you know, but what you can do and what you can do for that firm. And probably the most important skill coming out of this is the skill, the ability to keep on learning.
I think my opinion on that, right, might be some of the, what we call as employers to take a look at the skills, right? CGPA also one of the top component to consider. Okay, but that one might be a criteria to differentiate on, for example, they're having 100 resumes to shortlist it into 18 resumes. So might be that they can take a look at the CGPA, but towards the end, the soft skills or the professional skills, that one is more important.
That's true, but let's talk about lifelong learning. Okay, your diploma, your degree is just the beginning, so to speak, of the learning journey that you go through as an employee. So, what does MASA do to inculcate lifelong learning into its students?
Okay, all those points that I mentioned, starting from independent learning, starting from our practical skills, the communication skills, basically contribute to the lifelong learning. So lifelong learning is only one lesson whereby you're going to learn and then able to sustain more or what we call as do more. Basically, when you're talking about lifelong learning, it incorporates all those things when you're able to combine the critical thinking, your resilience, and your good communication skills, able you to what we call as able you to be stand up.
Okay, good. And of course, one of the key components in lifelong learning from an employer perspective is micro-credentials. And MASA has an enormous range of employer-specific and employer-focused micro-credentials available to its students to increase their skill set. So you can be a student in dentistry and want to learn coding. There are micro-credentials for you to learn coding. You can be a student in business and you want to learn something in accounting and finance. There are micro-credentials for that as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for mentioning that one. Micro-credentials is what we call as a small blocks, okay, whereby you build out these blocks and then get your desired program that you want. Because now students can what we call as pick their own program or their own modules that they want to have during their study time. So this is an initiative that just been what we call as introduced by the ministry. Whereby it's a very good one, and it gives more opportunity to the students to choose what they want to do. Okay, and then it's very good for the lifelong learning as well and other components.
Yeah, it's good to be able to get in early and to be acclimatized to that. I got to say, one of the things that the use of micro-credentials does is it requires students, it requires the learner to be able to see the big picture. So they've got to have a really good idea of where they want to end up, and then they've got to choose very different things and combine them together in order to end up where they want to go. So they have to have some drive, some determination, and that ability to see the big picture, which is something that we try to make sure that our students have. Yes?
I wish this micro-credential is there during my time, so that we are able to design what are the things that we need in order for us to have a very good certificates or quality of certificates.
Excellent. Okay, so to sum up, what we might say is that success in higher education these days depends a lot on the same skills as success in employment. Okay, and if we do it right, and we begin the students early during their foundation, and we build that skill set throughout their diploma or degree, then they really have an incredibly solid foundation for just being really employable and being very valuable in the workforce wherever they go and whatever they do and however many times they change their jobs, to be honest.
I think that's one of the advice given to the students as well. Not only focus 100% on your syllabus lesson, yes, you can do it, but on the same time, please don't forget on the skills that you should have and grab during the university time. Once your university time is over, then you're going to go for job hunting, could come with others as well. So what makes you different is these skills. Okay, so this has always been my advice to the students. I know that most of the students are in front of me right now, they're like shaking their heads, all understood. Okay, so yes, like mentioned, having good grades is so good, but also having involved in the activities in the campus or involved with any modules, they're able to bring more confidence, good communication skills, really good for the students.
I think you raise a really good point there because, okay, I have read through a lot of fresh grad CVs, and the biggest problem fresh grads have when they write a CV is they think they have nothing to talk about. So they just talk about the grades they got, the subjects that they studied. But in reality, what we're looking for as employers is the skills, what you know you can do. Okay, that's how you sell yourself. You say, I can do these things. And one great way to gain these skills and to really show that you're able to do them is by joining clubs. Clubs and societies, you join, you become treasurer, secretary, vice president, president, in charge of social media. All of those things add up to something that you can really talk about in your CV and in your job interview, because they really show employers that you've got something, you've got skills that you know how to use.
That's correct. That one mentioning about more like I say, a good CV, a good resume. But also that mentioned before this, you need to make sure that you're able to do something without any instruction. Okay, means like self-independence. Because might be there's a few, not students, might be the graduates, they already entered the workplace. They're just sitting there waiting for the instruction because they don't know what they are supposed to do. Okay, they need to know what they need to do. Means like they need the instruction. We don't want that type of what we call as workers. We want those that have their own initiative. When we give data, they're able to give trends. They're able to give analysis, not only observations.
I think so. I think that's a huge skill in itself. Be a self-starter. To be able to look at something and say, okay, I know I can start here. I know what I need to do. If I run into a problem later, I know I can go and talk to my supervisor. So yeah, that is something very important. But honestly, life would be better if everyone at work had that skill.
And then I do believe that, frankly speaking, that what MASA integrate or what MASA plan, which is currently with the master classes, with the micro-credentials, it's very towards of preparing the students for that particular traits. It's not something that only for the sake of marketing, no, because it's something that very, very important. If not, we are unable to incorporate all those values because having modules, yes, okay, but modules are restricted to the syllabus. So when we are having those credentials, when we're having those master classes, regardless of anything, students need to do it. So towards the end, they will get it, and then they might be not seeing it now, but they will see the advantages when they want to go for any workplace.
Exactly. Okay. Really, thank you very much. Thank you for being here. I've enjoyed our talk immensely. Thank you everyone for being in the audience.
Thank you, Matthew.
Are there any questions? For Puan Masita?
Oh, Mr. Matthew as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.